So should boxing think about? By the way, that's such a vague statement because whenever you say should boxing, it's not like you're not addressing this to one person. It's a or one entity. I mean, we're talking about a worldwide sport with multiple promoters, multiple sanctioning bodies, multiple you know commissions, jurisdictions. I mean, it's so I get that, but just for the sake of having the conversation, should boxing look into you know improving these you know the arena, man, like, or not the arena, but the squared circle there. Should they look into improving it, making it better? Because it's nothing's really changed with it over time, really. I mean, it was 18 by 18 for a while, changed to 20 by 20. I would personally like it to go back to 18 by 18. Right? I would personally like that. Um, but that's not here nor there. But what can boxing do, as far as the ring goes? Like, is there something that even an old school boxing fan like myself can say, all right, I could roll with that. That's okay. Let's go over some solutions that have been proposed that would simply not work. Number one, right? First of all, when someone like Joe Rogan says, hey, we should, or the statement, the ring, or the cage, I'm sorry, the cage is so superior to the ring for a combat sport because, look, people don't fall out of the cage. The cage is better to contain people inside, right? Well, I'm not too sure, first of all. Looking at the dynamics of boxing, I'm not too sure it would work very well at all. I mean, it's not going to be better. I know that, right? But I don't even think it would be passable for a sport like boxing, right? The reason the cage works very well in MMA, right? Number one, people are used to it in MMA. That's number one. Oh, well, if you implement it in boxing, it'll take some getting used to, but you can get used to it. Like, no. Um, the surface that is used in MMA, this is what people don't understand. The surface in MMA is a lot softer than in boxing. In boxing, you got to wear boxing shoes, right? And it's a much harder surface. Okay, there's some give there, but overall it's a much harder surface, right? The A circular cage, like in a circle, all right, or um, or an octagon, a hexagon, whatever you want to make it, right? A six-sided one, okay, whatever it is. If you were to make that, the surface in MMA would not work, right, for boxers, right? And it would not work for 12-round fights, 10-round fights. It wouldn't, right? First of all, a lot of dudes would be spraining their ankles and shit. That's number one. Well, what about in MMA? Look, you guys don't understand. In MMA, everything is different. First of all, they're barefooted in MMA. It's made for barefooted individuals. All right. The cage, the octagon you see was designed in part and approved by, I don't know if they personally designed it, but the Gracies approved it for the first Ultimate Fighting Championship, and they knew it was going to favor them. It was going to favor the grappler, right? So the cage, as we know, it's basically made for a sport that has grappling in it, right? So the reason ropes don't work that well in mixed martial arts is because guys are pushing each other. They're picking each other up and stuff like that. It's different, right? So that's number one, all right? The surface. People don't understand this. So let me I know it has nothing to do with boxing, but I'm also a since I was a little kid, I've always liked pro wrestling, right? And one thing they do a lot in wrestling, they do bumping, right, where you kind of body slam each other and stuff like that. Um, Now, first of all, the wrestling ring is made for guys to slam on each other and stuff like that, right? It's made for that. It's still a hard surface, but there's like a spring under it, right? That bounces a little more, right? In boxing rings, they don't have that spring, okay? But even with the spring, there was a promotion called TNA where they had a six-sided ring, right? And wrestlers hated working in that ring because even with the spring, it was a lot harder. Okay, the fall, it was harder, right? And so you don't need that in boxing, right? Okay, it just wouldn't work. Guys would get knocked down, right? And you'll be seeing arms getting broken. Okay, fucking, I hurt my back. That's it. We can't continue the fight. Right? Two guys get tangled up and fall on the ground and fucking fall fucking hard. This is without the spring. So first of all, for the surface itself, it wouldn't work. Right? It wouldn't work. You need it to be a square, right? Especially if you're looking at a 20 by 20 surface or 18 by 18, a square is perfect, right? Now, some of the solutions people have kind of put out there have been, well, if it's a 20 by 20 ring, why don't they just make the mat, why don't they just make it bigger? That way, if the fighter falls out of the ring, it's the mat is still there, right? There's several reasons for this, right? So number one, if you make the way the ring is designed, right? Now, frankly, a boxing ring is not made obviously like a wrestling ring where dudes jump off the top rope and none of that shit. But right, it's made for two things. Number one, it needs to be hard enough for boxers, all right, to move around the ring, pivot in the ring. It has to be hard enough for that, and it has to have some give in case a fighter gets knocked down and dropped, right? So it's harder than, first of all, an MMA ring. Okay, that's number one. I don't think people understand this, right? And also, it needs to be, and that's for the purpose of, of boxing in the ring, right? But it also has to have some give. Now, if you make this ring any bigger, right? Now, granted, look, we have a lot of great minds out there, and maybe someone can make it work. But as far as I know, if you were to make this ring any bigger, right, it would affect, right, the boxing itself. So you don't want to be in a ring, all right, that feels like it's rattling under you, okay, while you're walking, okay? So it's, what do they have under these rings? I mean, just think about it, right? So you can't create the actual mat itself. You can't make it any bigger, as far as I understand. If not, I believe they would have done it by now, right? So I think they would have done it by now. And you don't want the center of the ring to start feeling like a fucking wrestling ring either, right? So I think the size is there. Now, could you make it 18 by 18? Get the ropes a little closer, right? And you could have some more space there in a 20 by 20 surface. Yes, you could do that. That's why 18 by 18 would work just fine. And now people don't think about these things, by the way, when they get ideas like, well, why don't they just, do this, and in MMA they do that, and like, well, it wouldn't work in boxing. All right? The quality, first of all, the quality of boxing would fall dramatically if they were fighting in a cage just because of the surface itself. Right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever taken a close look at some of these MMA promotions when the ref with his shoes on are stepping on the octagon or the cage, whatever you want to call it, and you could see that they're almost digging through it. There's a lot of give there. So these things are made for guys to be not a good surface to box on, right? So what are some other solutions? So again, what about the ropes? Could they improve the ropes? What if you keep the ring and instead of the ropes, you create a cage around it? Really? Like, are you serious? So first of all, besides it looking kind of ridiculous, could it work, right? Well, I don't know if you guys, first of all, there's only two ways you're going to be able to do it. So is it going to be as the same height that the ropes are on right now? Because if you do that, let's say you were to do that, geniuses, right? Let's say that, there's two fighters fighting and just 5 feet away from the edge of the ring where there's a fucking cage, right? A dude lands an uppercut. Pow! The guy falls backwards and hits the back of his head against the railing. No, but what? No, obviously that wouldn't work either. Okay? All right? Well, you could put padding around it, like really? So that wouldn't work, right? So the other solution is you're going to have to create the cage high enough to where it's literally going to look like those cage matches in the WWE, right? Now, could that work, right? I'm thinking about it. Like, it actually can work, which is. But let me think it over here. It would just look ridiculous. I'm sorry. All right. Even if it would work, it's like, are you gonna have a steel door just like they do in Hell in a Cell or some shit? Fuck. No. Okay, come on. All right. You can't have a cage surrounding the ring. All right. Come on. First of all, I don't even know how good that looks. I honestly, I remember when I was a kid, I saw a cage match for a wrestling event. It's hard to see inside one of those, man. It's just fucking hard to see as it is. If you're in the 30th row in a fucking boxing match and you're trying to watch that shit, the shit's ridiculous, man. Right? And the cameras, you got to create holes for the cameras to look inside, and you're really you're limiting your angles. Okay, you don't have a lot of angles there for that. Where are the judges going to sit to judge this fight? Got to think about all these things. So we don't need to replace the ropes. The ropes are fine because there's nothing wrong with the ropes. The ropes are designed to be what they are. Okay. I get it. The argument is no, but evolution. All right. I don't know if you guys know this. Boxing has evolved. Okay, it went from bare knuckle to boxing gloves, and it has evolved. The rules evolved. There used to be a limited round. Now there's 12 rounds, and before that it was 15 rounds. The gloves have gotten better. Okay, I mean, I don't. It's not like boxing hasn't evolved, all right? But the ring itself. All right, we don't need the ring, first of all, to look like one of those McDonald's playgrounds. All right, so I'm not saying like just put those balls around the whole ring in case somebody falls out. No, all right, but just put some regular padding on the outside in case somebody falls out. That's all they got to do. All right, that's it. And every thousands of fights that happen, somebody happens to fall out of the ring. Shit happens. Right? They get back in the ring or the fight's over. All right? Guys have been falling out of the ring for decades. That this whole, we got to change something. Got to prove it. Like, I don't know what you guys want to do without, you have to think ahead. Look at what are the consequences of getting rid of the ropes. Because if you get rid of the ropes, you got to replace the ring altogether. So what are we going to do? Have them fight in a squared cage? Is that what we're going to do? I don't even know where people get that the cage is better anyway. As far as the straight up, if that was true, Muay Thai would have started using the cage a long time ago. If that was true, kickboxing would have started using the cage a long time ago. If that was true, it's not. There's a reason. Why do you think they don't have a cage in Muay Thai or kickboxing? I mean, it's just right off the top of my head. I already thought of two reasons. Reason number one: could you imagine throwing a kick as hard as you can, and your fucking toes, okay, hit the fucking cage. That's number one. I mean, dudes would be losing their fucking toes. So we need to take a step back, all right, and understand that in boxing, kickboxing, guys fall out of the ring. It happens, right? And that's it. And the ropes give us a lot of drama, man. The ropes create all types of drama. It's part of boxing. They really are. You know, there is some give there when their back hits the ropes. Okay, propels them forward a little bit, and you know, it makes things interesting. You know, it really does. You know, it's not like when you're against the ropes, it's not like being behind a brick wall, you know, where you're just kind of stuck there. There's really literally nowhere to, there's no give. There's some give there. You know, there is. You know, I mean, without the ropes, you don't have the corners. You don't have, like, think about this. Without that design, you don't have the corner. Right? I'm not talking about, the corner between rounds. No, I'm talking about literally the corner. Where they corner a boxer in against the corner and shit. I mean, that's one of the best spots in boxing. When somebody gets cornered and shit and there's literally nowhere to go, right? And somebody starts unloading some shots right there, that's the design of the ring creates that. You're not going to get that in some fucking round circled cage. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. You don't even get that in the octagon. You really can't, because it's not cornered enough. You know, it's not. The whole thing's different, right? So there's a lot of things to look at, right? See, when you replace something, you got to replace it with something superior. Okay, literally, that's going to benefit that sport better, and that makes some more sense, right? No, but what about big and knockout boxing? They had it right. They had it right. Well, what did they have? Right? They had a thing called the pit, right? And I'll never forget the commercials for it. I'll never forget it. They would always say, yeah, no ropes. Like if ropes were for pussies or something, you know? What do you mean no ropes? You're promoting it that way, really. As if ropes have been a big reason why fights, don't happen, this, that, and the third. First of all, big knockout boxing didn't go anywhere. So there goes that. And I just didn't like the way it was designed. I mean, I didn't like it's, yeah, you saw some knockouts, but it never did big knockout boxing produce like a war. It never produced a classic. I couldn't put one big knockout boxing fight, not one, in the top 100 boxing fights of all time. I couldn't do it. They didn't even produce the best knockouts, right? They really didn't. There was no drama. Some of the best fights ever, the ropes played some type of a role in it, even if you don't even have to go rope-a-dope or Lennox Lewis bouncing off the ropes or like that. You don't even need to go that. All you need to do, right, is look at Gotti versus Ward, round 10 or 9. I forgot what round it was. I think it was 9. Gotti's being held up by literally nothing but the ropes. Literally, that's the only thing holding him up. You have Jose Luis Castillo. He got staggered. His back against the ropes, the only thing holding him up, and Diego Corrales finished him off after he knocked him down like 2 times. And spit out the mouthpiece, by the way. So we can't ignore that, right? It's a big thing, the ropes. It's a big thing. I mean, not to mention how iconic the boxing ring is, the tradition it carries, right? I mean, all that. Not to mention that. So and one of the reasons I'm doing this because there's people falling for this now. Oh yeah, they should get rid of it. I mean, look in MMA they do it this way. Well, that's good for MMA. Can you tell me the rules of MMA again? Okay, what are the rules of boxing? Holy shit, they sound like two different sports. Oh, I see. I mean, literally, it's like saying, that we need to stop using the baseball field for baseball. I mean, look, the football field works just fine for the NFL. What? There's no touchdowns in MLB baseball. Why are they going to use a football field? Who do you think they are? The 49ers? No, actually, the 49ers got rid of that baseball field, actually. But anyway, come on. We need to look at the engineering of the boxing ring and look at it as not only is the engineering of the boxing ring iconic and its tradition, and I mean, you look at a boxing ring and you say, that's a boxing ring, right? All the fights we remember that we could watch on film, that we watch today, are in that ring. The worst fights, the best fights, the ugly fights, they were all in that ring. But not just that. The great engineering of the boxing ring, it's perfect. It's a perfect surface to box on, to use for pivoting, for movements, for cutting off the ring, right? For a variety of styles could be used in it, right? The ropes gives great visibility to the crowds. Under the ropes, a judge could watch the fight. Commentators could look through the ring. Trainers could look through it. Boxers utilize the ropes during fights. The corner has become a big portion of boxing memories. Fighters don't generally get injured when they get knocked down, right? As far as bodily injuries. And while the surface of a boxing ring it's much harder than the surface of an MMA ring because of its engineering, right? It still has that enough give to where if somebody gets knocked down, it's nowhere near like falling on concrete, right? So there are dynamics at play here. Replacing the boxing ring is nowhere near as simple as Joe Rogan put it. I mean, would crisscrossed ropes really work? Has anybody really thought about this? Crisscrossed ropes. How are you going to crisscross ropes? Like what? Like really? How many ropes would you have to crisscross? And once you finish crisscrossing them, it's going to ruin the visibility of people on the outside, right? That are first row, second row watching the fight. And how's a boxer going to get in the ring? Are all of them going to have to jump over the ring? All right? Are they going to have to do a Rey Mysterio over the ring or something, or what? What if there's an emergency and a fighter just got knocked the fuck out and he's very injured? You got to carry him out on the stretcher. What do you do? How are these crisscross ropes going to work? I mean, look. Obviously, like I said at the beginning of the video, there's some great minds out there. And maybe somebody could make it work, right? But, hey, okay. First of all, changing the shape of it will not work. It wouldn't. You would either make it too soft or way too fucking hard. And what's the point of having a different surface that's going to feel like concrete, right? I mean, there's no fucking point to the ring then. You just have them fighting concrete. So we need to make sure that really think this through, and maybe just maybe the boxing ring is just fine and there's nothing wrong with it, and it's perfect. It's a perfect dance partner for the sport. It's perfect for it, right? Some things don't need changing. Right? Some things are just fine the way they are. Some things are fine. 51-year-old man falls out of the ring. And you got people talking about changing the way the ring is structured. No. Right? It's no. Okay. Bernard Hopkins did not belong in the ring, first of all. And the ring made sure it let him know that. That's all. Okay? It's as simple as that. Shit happens. Okay? Now, should they pad it outside? Sure. That's something they could do without having to change anything. Cool? Anyway, we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Interesting topic. Because I remember this came up when BKB Boxing came out, and they were promoting as no ropes, and I saw fight fans falling for it, like if the ropes are a bad thing or something. Nah, I love the ropes, right? A great boxing match where the ropes are being used, right? Fighters are getting cornered. There's nothing like it, right? I'm out. Peace.